Part 1. First Contact of the Absurd Kind. Zoe slouched on her grandfather's worn leather couch, thumbs flying across her phone screen as she battled digital monsters. The musty smell of old books and coffee grounds hung in the air of the cluttered living room. Her grandpa, Dr. Alan Thorne, hunched over a desk nearby, muttering to himself as he fiddled with some contraption involving wires and blinking lights. "Gramps, you're doing the crazy scientist thing again," Zoe said without looking up. The musty smell of old books and coffee grounds hung in the air of the cluttered living room. Her grandpa, Dr. Alan Thorne, hunched over a desk nearby, muttering to himself as he fiddled with some contraption involving wires and blinking lights. "Gramps, you're doing the crazy scientist thing again," Zoe said without looking up. As if on cue, a piercing shriek erupted from Alan's device. Both Zoe and her grandfather clapped their hands over their ears. "Sweet mother of Tesla." Alan shouted. "It's working. We're receiving a signal." "Or you've invented the world's most annoying doorbell," Zoe groaned. The ear-splitting noise cut off abruptly, replaced by a scratchy voice. "Greetings, primitive Earth beings. This is Supreme Commander Zork of the mighty Glorban Empire. Prepare for invasion and dow. Who left this control panel sticking out? I told maintenance to child-proof the bridge." Zoe and Alan exchanged incredulous looks. "Is this some kind of prank?" Zoe asked. Before Alan could respond, a blinding flash lit up the room. When the spots cleared from their vision, they found themselves face to tentacle with a bizarre creature. It resembled a grumpy octopus wearing a tinfoil hat, crammed into what looked suspiciously like a repurposed phone booth. "Behold my superior form, puny humans," the alien gurgled. "I am Zork, conqueror of 1,000 worlds. Well, technically 0 so far, but you'll be the first." Alan gasped. "Fascinating. An actual extraterrestrial life form." Zoe was less impressed. "Why does it sound like he's gargling mouthwash?" Zork's tentacles writhed indignantly. "Silence! You will bow before the technological might of the Glorban Empire." He fumbled with a device on his slimy wrist. "Activating gravity beam to immobilize you." A beam of purple light shot from Zork's wrist, directly into his own face. The alien yelped as he was suddenly plastered to the ceiling of his cramped vessel. Minor calibration error. Zork wheezed. "Fear not, I have more weapons." What followed was a comedy of errors as the hapless invader demonstrated an arsenal of advanced technology. Zork's shrink ray turned his command booth into a fishbowl. The mind control beam gave him an inexplicable craving for pineapple pizza. The doomsday disintegrator merely tickled. After 15 minutes of chaos, Zork hung upside down in his spacecraft, tangled in wires and beeping gadgets. "Well," Alan said, stroking his beard, "this is rather underwhelming as far as alien invasions go." Zoe nodded. "I've seen scarier invasions at the mall on Black Friday. Your mocking only delays the inevitable." Zork declared, his voice muffled by tentacles. "Soon, our armada will darken your skies." A tinny voice crackled from Zork's wrist computer. Supreme Commander?" "Slight problem. Navigation engaged the hyperdrive prematurely. We may have overshot Earth by a few parsecs. We'll circle back, but it might take a while." "Sorry." Zork's eyes bulged. "Incompetent fools. You'll be scrubbing plasma conduits for a century." He turned back to Zoe and Alan, trying to regain some dignity despite being thoroughly tangled. "This is merely a setback. I'll subdue you myself while awaiting reinforcements. Surrender now, and I might consider letting you be my personal servants instead of doing much worse things." "Yes, Very scary things that you definitely don't want to experience. Zoe raised an eyebrow. Dude, you can't even figure out your own gadgets. What makes you think you can conquer Earth? How dare you? Zork sputtered. I graduated top of my class at the Glorban Academy of Planetary Subjugation. Granted, I was the only student that year, but still. Alan stepped forward, eyes gleaming with scientific curiosity. Fascinating. Tell me, what's the power source for your faster-than-light travel? How do you overcome the immense energy requirements? Zork blinked his 3 eyes in confusion. Very carefully. He doesn't have a clue, Gramps, Zoe said. I do so, Zork protested. It involves quantum things and plasma. Lots of plasma. Now tremble before me. Zoe crossed her arms. Yeah, I'm quaking. Listen, Squidward, how about you go back to whatever space wreck you came from, and we pretend this didn't happen? Never, Zork declared. He fumbled with another device. Prepare to face the mighty morphing mecha suit of doom. With a puff of glittery smoke, Zork's vessel transformed. When the sparkles cleared, the alien stood before them encased in what appeared to be a hybrid of medieval armor, disco ball, and an old TV antenna. Zork took one wobbly step forward. Aha! Now you'll. He was cut off as the suit toppled forward with a resounding clang, leaving the alien flailing like an overturned turtle. Cursed Earth gravity. Came Zork's muffled voice. A minor setback. You haven't seen the last of Wait. Is that burnt toast I smell? Oh no, not the self-destruct sequence. In another flash, Zork and his malfunctioning mecha suit vanished. Zoe and Alan stared at the scorch mark on the carpet where the alien had stood. Well, Zoe said after a moment. That was something. Alan nodded, looking thoughtful. Indeed. It seems the universe has a sense of humor after all. So what now, Gramps? Zoe asked. Alert the authorities. Prepare Earth's defenses. Alan chuckled. Oh, I think Earth will be just fine. But perhaps we should keep an eye on the skies, just in case our bumbling friend returns with reinforcements. Zoe groaned. Great. Alien invasion babysitting duty. Just how I wanted to spend my summer. Double quotes. As they contemplated their strange encounter, neither noticed the blinking light on Alan's homemade device. In the static, a faint message could almost be heard. Hello? Anyone? I think I'm stuck in the 18th dimension. How do I get back to? Oh no, not again. The light blinked out, leaving only the usual sounds of a quiet evening. But somewhere in the vast cosmos, Earth's most inept invader was already planning his comeback. Assuming he could find his way back, of course. Alan's device sputtered back to life, catching another fragment of transmission. Advanced Scout Zork, report your status. The Armada awaits your signal to begin Operation Cosmic Clusterfuge. Zoe and Alan exchanged worried glances. It seemed their bumbling alien visitor might just be the tip of a very incompetent iceberg. Part 2. The Not-So-Great Escape. 2 weeks had passed since Zoe and her grandfather Alan had their close encounter of the absurd kind. Life in the small town of Millbrook had returned to its usual humdrum routine. Well, almost. Gramps, you've got to be kidding me, Zoe groaned, staring at her grandfather's latest creation. The elderly scientist beamed proudly at what looked like a hot dog cart that had mated with a satellite dish. Behold, Alan declared, patting the contraption. The extraterrestrial early warning system, or UEs. For short, EUs is right, Zoe muttered. Alan adjusted his glasses, practically bouncing with excitement. It monitors the skies for any sign of our bumbling alien friend or his reinforcements. And as an added bonus, it can make a perfect hot dog in 3.7 seconds. Double quotes ... as, if on cue. The machine began to whir and spark. A plume of smoke erupted from the top, followed by the unmistakable smell of burnt rubber and overcooked meat. Ah, Alan coughed, waving away the smoke. Perhaps I crossed a wire or two. Zoe rolled her eyes. Face it, Gramps. Zork was probably some elaborate hallucination. Too much late-night TV and stale coffee, remember? Nonsense, Alan protested. I've been monitoring unusual energy signatures, spatial anomalies, and he was cut off by a deafening boom that shook the entire neighborhood. A blinding flash lit up the sky, followed by the crunch of metal and splintering wood. What in the name of Asimov was that? Alan exclaimed. Zoe pointed to their neighbor's yard. Gramps? I think your alien pen pal is back. Smoke billowed from a crater where Mrs. Abernathy's prized rose bushes had once stood. In the center sat a battered spacecraft that looked suspiciously like a 1950 seconds refrigerator with fins welded on. The door creaked open, unleashing a cloud of glittery smoke. Behold, puny Earth creatures. A familiar gurgling voice declared, I have Ritterak. In the center sat a battered spacecraft that looked suspiciously like a 1950 seconds refrigerator with fins welded on. The door creaked open, unleashing a cloud of glittery smoke. Behold, puny Earth creatures. A familiar gurgling voice declared, I have Ritterak. Zoe crossed her arms. Dude, your spaceship looks like it came from a junkyard. How dare you? Zork's tentacles writhed indignantly. This is a top-of-the-line escape pod. Had to borrow it after a slight mishap with the mothership. You see, I was sent ahead as an advanced scout. Very important mission. The fate of the invasion rests on my tentacles. Alan's eyes lit up. Fascinating. Tell me, what kind of propulsion system does it use? I don't drive? Entimeter? Zork puffed out his chest. Or what passed for a chest on his gelatinous form. Ha! Your primitive mind couldn't comprehend the complexity of Glorban technology. It's powered by very scientific things. Quantum stuff. Before Alan could press further, sirens wailed in the distance. Oh, Zoe said. Sounds like your crash landing didn't go unnoticed, calamari boy. Panic flashed in Zork's 3 eyes. Quickly, Earth beings. You must hide me from your authorities. I can't be captured. I still haven't figured out how to dramatically monologue while stroking a cat. Alan stroked his beard thoughtfully. Well, I suppose in the interest of scientific discovery. Gramps, no, Zoe protested. We are not harboring a fugitive space octopus. Please, Zork pleaded. I'll do anything. I'll even teach you the secrets of our advanced Glorban technology. Zoe raised an eyebrow. You mean the tech that keeps blowing up in your face? Minor setbacks. Zork insisted. Come on, where's your sense of adventure? Don't you want to be part of the greatest story never told? Think of the book deals, the movie rights. The sirens grew louder. Zoe looked from her eager grandfather to the pathetic alien and sighed heavily. I can't believe I'm saying this, but fine. You can hide in Gramps' garage. But one tentacle out of line, and I'm turning you into calamari. Got it? Zork's eyes widened. You'd eat a superior being? Try me. Squidward ... as they hustled the alien towards the garage. Alan's UE's machine suddenly sprang to life. Lights flashed, gears ground, and a torrent of scorched hot dogs shot into the air like meaty projectiles. "Duck!" Alan yelled. They hit the ground as burnt franks rained down around them. Zork yelped as one bounced off his head with a sad splat. "Is this some kind of primitive defense system?" The alien asked, eyes darting nervously. Zoe groaned. "No, just my grandfather's idea of improving household appliances." "Come on, let's get you hidden before." She was cut off by the screech of tires. A black SUV with government plates skidded to a stop in front of the house. Men in dark suits and sunglasses poured out, led by a stern-faced woman clutching a clipboard. "I'm Agent Steele," the woman announced. "We're with a classified government agency that doesn't exist. We detected an unauthorized entry into Earth's atmosphere." "Where is the alien?" Zork, in a moment of panic-induced brilliance or idiocy, grabbed a nearby flower pot and plonked it on his head. He stood rigid, tentacles at his sides. "Alien," Alan said innocently. "I'm sure I don't know what you mean. We're just ordinary folks enjoying a traditional hot dog rain. Nothing unusual here." Agent Steele's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the chaotic scene. Her gaze lingered on Zork. "And what, pray tell, is that?" Zoe thought fast. "Oh, him? That's, Uncle Marvin. Yeah, he's visiting from Norway. It's a traditional Norwegian garden sculpture. Very avant-garde, a sculpture." Agent Steele repeated flatly. "Yep," Zoe nodded vigorously. "Uncle Marvin's super committed to his art. Won't break character for anything. Isn't that right, Uncle Marvin?" Zork, to his credit, remained perfectly still. A suspicious darker patch spread across the bottom of the flower pot. Agent Steele pinched the bridge of her nose. "Right. Well, if you see anything unusual, call this number immediately." She handed Alan a business card. "And, sir, you might want to have your hot dog can unchecked. I'm pretty sure that violates several safety regulations." As the agents piled back into their vehicle, Zoe and Alan breathed a sigh of relief. Crisis averted. "For now. Okay, Zork," Zoe said. "Coast is clear. You can drop the flower pot act, ... in a response. Zork?" Alan tapped the flower pot gently. It tilted, revealing Zork's unconscious form. The alien had fainted dead away. "Well," Alan said brightly, "at least we know Glorbans can experience fear-induced syncope. Isn't science marvelous?" Zoe rubbed her temples. "Gramps, how are we going to explain a comatose space octopus to the neighbors?" As they contemplated their predicament, neither noticed the blinking light on the battered escape pod. In the static, a garbled message played. "Attention Glorban Fleet. Target located. Prepare for Phase 2 of Operation Cosmic Clusterfu." The message cut off abruptly. In the skies above, unnoticed by Earth's primitive detection systems, shadows began to gather. The invasion of the incompetents was about to kick into high gear. Maybe. Assuming they could figure out which way was up, of course. Part 3. A Comedy of Terrors. Zoe never imagined she'd be spending her summer vacation babysitting an alien invader. Yet here she was, watching Zork attempt to operate a toaster. The Glorban commander had recovered from his fainting spell, but his dignity remained in critical condition. "Behold, Earth Girl," Zork declared, waving a slice of bread triumphantly. "I have mastered your primitive food preparation technology." Zoe sighed. "That's the wrong end, genius. The bread goes in the slots." "I knew that," Zork mumbled, his tentacles turning a deeper shade of purple. "I was simply testing your knowledge of proper toasting procedures. As Zork fumbled with the appliance, Zoe's grandfather burst into the kitchen, waving a stack of printouts. Great galloping galaxies. Ellen exclaimed. You won't believe what I've discovered. Zoe raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. You finally figured out how to make the coffee maker shoot lasers? What? No, that was last week's project, Alan said, adjusting his glasses. This is far more serious. According to my calculations, Zork's people weren't the only ones to enter our atmosphere recently. We're dealing with a full-scale invasion. Zork's eyes widened. The Armada has arrived? Excellent. Tremble, puny earthlings, for your doom is at hand. Tentacle. Whatever. Yeah, I'm shaking. Zoe deadpanned. So what's the deal, Gramps? Little green men landing in cornfields? Alan spread the papers across the kitchen table. Not quite. Look at these energy readings. Dozens of small craft entering the atmosphere at various points around the globe. But here's the kicker. They're all crash landing. Typical, Zork grumbled. I bet it was Steve from accounting. He always forgets to carry the one when calculating entry vectors. Zoe peered at the printouts. So you're saying Earth is being invaded by the three stooges of the cosmos? Precisely, Alan beamed. Isn't it wonderful? Before Zoe could reply, a series of explosions rocked the neighborhood. Car alarms blared as panicked shouts filled the air. What in the name of Neptune's noodles was that? Ellen exclaimed. They rushed to the window. The scene outside was pure chaos. Neighbors ran screaming as several craft that looked suspiciously like flying port-a-potties zoomed erratically through the air. One clipped a streetlight and spiraled into Mrs. Abernathy's yard, crushing her newly replanted rose bushes. Oh, come on, Zoe groaned. What did those poor roses ever do to you guys? Zork puffed up indignantly. I'll have you know those are top-of-the-line Glorban attack fighters, able to strike fear into the hearts of our enemies with their porcelain majesty. As if to prove his point, the door of the crashed ship creaked open. A Glorban soldier stumbled out, looking decidedly green around the gills or whatever passed for gills on their alien physiology. Commander Zork. The soldier called out weakly. We've arrived to conquer this pitiful world in the name of O'Glorban. I think I'm going to be sick. The soldier promptly retched up something that looked unsettlingly like glowing silly string. Zoe wrinkled her nose. Loving that superior Glorban biology, minor setback. Zork insisted. Our stomachs simply aren't used to your planets. Air. Yes, that's it. Earth air is clearly a formidable defense mechanism. Alan stroked his beard thoughtfully. Fascinating. It seems the Glorban invasion force is suffering from some rather severe motion sickness. But why? What could be causing such a reaction? As if in answer, a booming voice echoed from above. Attention, citizens of Earth. This is Admiral Blorp of the Glorban Armada. We come in peace. We come to conquer. Yes, that's it. Anyway, please submit to our benevolent rule, and for the love of Zog, who put the galaxy's spiciest tacos in the mess hall replicator. The sky filled with the sounds of retching aliens and malfunctioning spacecraft. Zork buried his face in his tentacles. This is why I work alone, he muttered. Zoe couldn't help but laugh. Some invasion. You guys can't even handle Taco Tuesday. Mock us at your peril, Zork declared, though the effect was somewhat ruined by the queasy burble in his voice. Once we overcome this minor digestive setback, we shall know. Zork's eyes bulged. He looked frantically around the kitchen before making a mad dash for the bathroom. The door slammed, followed by sounds no human or alien should ever have to hear. Zoe turned to her grandfather. So, what's the plan? Call the army? NASA? The CDC? Alan's eyes twinkled with scientific glee. Are you kidding? This is the opportunity of a lifetime. We have front row seats to the most incompetent invasion in galactic history. Yeah, lucky us, Zoe muttered. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Zoe opened it to find Agent Steele, looking significantly less composed than during their last encounter. Her suit was singed, and what looked suspiciously like alien silly string clung to her hair. All right, Steele said, her voice clipped. We all know the jig is up. Where's your Uncle Marvin? A muffled flush sounded from the bathroom, followed by Zork's voice. Is it safe to come out? I think I left my skeleton in there. Steele's eye twitched. Right. You three come with me. And bring him. We've got a planet to save, and God help us, but you might be our best shot. As they prepared to leave, Alan's jury-rigged alien detection system began to spark and smoke. With a series of pops and whirs, it spat out a perfectly toasted piece of bread. Huh, Zoe said, catching the toast. Guess it got the wires crossed with the toaster. Ooh, toast, Zork exclaimed, emerging from the bathroom looking slightly green. I am feeling a bit peckish after my, tribulations. As the ragtag group piled into Agent Steele's government-issue SUV, none of them noticed the small, blinking device that had attached itself to the vehicle's undercarriage. In a distant corner of the galaxy, a shadowy figure watched the unfolding chaos with growing interest. Soon, the figure muttered, tentacles steepled menacingly. Soon, the true invasion shall begin. Right after I figure how to untangle my tentacles from this confounded, evil overlord chair. As Earth braced for the coming storm, one thing was certain. The galaxy's most incompetent alien invasion was about to reach new heights of absurdity. And somehow, the fate of two worlds rested in the hands and tentacles of a snarky teenager, her mad scientist grandfather, a bumbling alien commander, and a very, very tired government agent. The universe, it seemed, had a twisted sense of humor indeed. Part 4. The Not-So-Final Frontier. The government SUV sped through the chaos-filled streets, weaving around crashed Glorban ships and confused civilians. Inside, an unlikely alliance was forming. So let me get this straight, Agent Steele said, gripping the steering wheel. You're telling me that the fate of Earth hinges on stopping an invasion of incompetent aliens who can't handle tacos? Hey, Zork protested from the back seat. I'll have you know that Glorban digestive systems are highly sophisticated. It's not our fault your Earth foods are weapons grade. Actually, Alan chimed in, I've been conducting some impromptu experiments. It seems the Glorban physiology has a particularly adverse reaction to certain Earth foods. The sandwich incident was just the beginning. I hypothesized that spicier foods might have an even more pronounced effect. Zoe rolled her eyes. Yeah, we're really trembling in our boots. So what's the plan, Agent Steele? Area 51? Secret underground bunker? Even better, Steele replied, a grim smile on her face. We're going to Walmart. The car screeched to a halt in front of the sprawling superstore. As they piled out, the sky above filled with more erratically flying Glorban ships. One crashed into the giant smiley face sign, leaving it with a decidedly queasy expression. Behold, Admiral Blorp's voice boomed from above. We have captured your fortress of cheap goods and questionable fashion choices. Submit to Glorban rule, and we might let you keep your. What are those abominations? Alan's eyes lit up. Fascinating. They seemed to have mistaken Walmart for Earth's seat of power. An understandable error, given the corporation's global reach, less analyzing, more moving. Steele barked, ushering them towards the entrance. As they approached, a Glorban soldier waddled out, tentacles laden with shopping bags. Halt, Earth creatures. The alien gurgled. This fortress is now under Glorban control. We have seized your most valuable resources. Zork face tentacled. Jorp, you idiot. Are those live love signs? Jorp looked sheepish. They spoke to me on a spiritual level, sir. Steele took advantage of the distraction, judo flipping Jorp and relieving him of his inspirational decor. Inside now, they rushed into the store, finding a scene of utter pandemonium. Glorban soldiers zagged drunkenly through the aisles, marveling at the cornucopia of consumer goods. One alien was gleefully bubble wrapping itself, while another had somehow become entangled in a rack of discount leggings. It's worse than Black Friday, Zoe muttered. Steele pulled them into a huddle. All right, here's the plan. Dr. Thorne, I need you to rig up something to incapacitate these invaders. Your previous inventions have shown promise. It's time to put them to the test. Zoe, you're on distraction duty. Zork, try not to make things worse. And what will you be doing? Zork asked indignantly. Steele's eyes narrowed. I'm going to have a chat with Admiral B. Lore P. Double quotes as the group split up. Alan beeline for the electronics section, muttering about frequency modulators and quantum oscillators. Zoe found herself in the pet aisle, an idea forming. Meanwhile, Steele marched towards the garden center, where Admiral Blorp had set up his command post atop a display of fertilizer bags. Ah, an Earth diplomat. Blorp gurgled. Have you come to discuss the terms of your planet's surrender? Steele crossed her arms. Not exactly. I'm here to negotiate the terms of your departure. Preposterous. Blorp's tentacles writhed. The Glorban Empire never retreats. Except that one time on Zygon 7, but that was because of the sentient quicksand. And maybe Flurbop 3, but those were some really persistent Girl Scouts. But this time, we stand firm. As Steele engaged in verbal sparring with the Admiral, Alan cobbled together a device from assorted electronics, kitchen appliances, and what looked suspiciously like a karaoke machine. Eureka, he exclaimed. My sonic discombobulator is complete. Now, if I can just figure out how to turn it on without shorting out half the state. Across the store, Zoe had engineered a makeshift catapult from shopping carts and bungee cords. Her ammunition? Every can of sardines in the pet food aisle. Hey, squiddies. She called out. Special delivery. A barrage of fishy projectiles arced through the air, splattering confused Glorban soldiers. The effect was immediate and hilarious. Aliens stumbled about in a daze, drawn by the scent yet repulsed by the texture. It's like catnip and kryptonite had a slimy baby, Zoe mused. Just then, Alan's device hummed to life, emitting a piercing screech that sent the Glorban invaders reeling. Aliens clutched their auditory organs, stumbling into displays and each other in a symphony of slapstick. It's working, Alan cried triumphantly. The sonic discombobulator is disrupting their equilibrium. Yeah, and everyone else's eardrums, Zoe winced. Primitive this, Steele retorted, executing a perfect judo throw. Blorp sailed through the air, landing in a kiddie pool filled with potting soil. Steele grabbed the console, her fingers flying over the alien controls. Dr. Thorne, I need an exit strategy for our unwanted guests. Alan scrambled over, peering at the device. If I reroute the quantum flux capacitor and reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, any day now, Doc? Steele urged. With a final adjustment, the console hummed to life. A swirling portal opened in the center of the store, creating a localized gravity well that began sucking up dazed Glorban soldiers. No, Admiral Blorp cried, clinging to a display of garden gnomes. We were so close to victory. or at least a really good deal on bulk toilet paper. As aliens were pulled into the portal, Zork found himself caught in the gravitational pull. He scrabbled for purchase on the linoleum floor, tentacles flailing. "Wait," he cried out. "I'm not ready to leave. I haven't tried all 31 flavors yet." Zoe hesitated for a moment, then grabbed a handful of ice cream containers, tossing them through the portal after him. "Here's a taste of Earth, you goofball." With a final underwhelming pop, the portal closed. The store fell silent, save for the crackle of a broken PA system and the distant wail of sirens. Steele surveyed the debris-strewn aisles, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Well, that's going to be fun to explain to the higher-ups. So, that's it?" Zoe asked. "Earth is saved because the aliens got motion sick and couldn't resist the allure of Walmart?" Ellen beamed. "It's rather poetic, don't you think? The downfall of an advanced alien civilization, brought about by taco-induced indigestion and consumer capitalism. I think I liked it better when the aliens in movies were actually scary," Zoe muttered. The transmission cut off abruptly. Outside, life was already beginning to return to normal, or as normal as it could be, after a failed alien invasion via Walmart. Zoe looked up at the stars, a wry smile on her face. "Something tells me this isn't the last we've seen of the Glorban Empire." "Indeed," Alan agreed, his eyes twinkling with the promise of future adventures. "And I have a feeling we've only scratched the surface of this cosmic comedy. There are still so many unanswered questions. Who was behind that mysterious transmission? What is the true invasion they mentioned?" Agent Steele nodded grimly. "I hate to admit it, but you're right. This feels like just the beginning. We'll need to stay vigilant. And maybe stock up on hot sauce, just in case." "The universe, my dear," Alan said, putting an arm around Zoe's shoulders, "is full of wonders. And apparently a fair share of cosmic comedy." As they walked off into the night, the Walmart sign flickered back to life, its smiley face now sporting a distinctly alien-looking unibrow. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, a thoroughly embarrassed Glorban fleet limped home, leaving behind a planet that would never look at tacos or Walmart quite the same way again. And so, Earth's first encounter with alien life ended not with a bang, but with a punchline. The invasion of the incompetents had been thwarted, but as any good comedian knows, the show must go on. The stage was set for sequels, spin-offs, and countless late-night comedy routines. After all, in a universe as vast and ridiculous as ours, the only appropriate response to an alien invasion is to find the humor in it and maybe stock up on antacids, just in case.